The following is a project of our nonprofit newsroom. Support Midcoast Morning and local community-centered journalism today by signing up to be a monthly sustaining donor at chly.ca/donate. It doesn't take much money to support local news.
Hello and welcome to Midcoast Morning. I'm Joe Pugh. Nanaimo City Council has opted to reconsider a plan for changes at Loudon Park following a lengthy meeting Monday night. In April, Council had voted 5-4 in favor of a plan to allocate additional funds for a long-planned building on the grounds of Loudon Park by Long Lake. The facility would have included boat storage, upgraded washrooms, and rentable community space. Some community members subsequently expressed concern that the plan called for 29 mature Douglas fir trees in the park to be cut down. Concern was also expressed at the projected cost of the project, which was around $11 million. Plans for upgraded infrastructure in Loudon Park have been discussed for decades. The latest version of the project has been in the works since 2021. Rising construction costs forced it to be put on hold. In March, city staff presented council with an updated cost estimate and an alternative plan that would have seen a smaller facility built on a different part of the park at a lower cost. That option would still have had boat storage and washroom upgrades without bookable community space. It was estimated to cost around $6.5 million and require the removal of around 14 trees in the park. Council voted in favor of that option at a Finance and Audit Committee meeting, but a number of councillors were not present for the vote. When the subject came back up for discussion at a later council meeting, the scaled-down plan was voted down, and council voted 5-4 in favor of allocating the funding needed to go with the original plan. After council's decision, a group called Save Loudon Park emerged, organizing a demonstration in Loudon Park in April. At this Monday's council meeting, a trio of delegations expressed opposition to the proposed building at Loudon Park. One of the speakers was Nanaimo Climate Action Hub board member Heather Bates. Here are some of her comments.
I'd like to start by thanking Council for their willingness to invest in quality infrastructure for our community, which is sorely needed. I grew up spending a lot of time outdoors, including paddling a canoe, and being in nature was a way of life. In fact, when I was 24 and we found out my dad didn't have much time left, he and I built a kayak together. There it is. So I do support the paddling community, and I really want to see those facilities upgraded. The thing is, the design that was approved on April 7th doesn't just upgrade the washrooms and provide the much-needed secure boat storage for the paddling clubs. It replaces the whole shaded waterfront park area with a 10,000 square foot building, favoring a small subset of the park users over the broader public. And although the building will be stunning to look at, there won't be much left of the actual park for us to use. All those beautiful shade trees shown in the architect rendering will be gone, and there will be no shade at the beach. I'm sure it would be lovely to rent that multi-purpose room for a party, but if I want to take my kids to Loudon Park after school or to go for a swim on a hot summer afternoon, and I didn't reserve that room, the only part of the building open to us will be the public washrooms and the outdoor showers. Based on the floor plan diagram, that's about 8% of the building area. The rest of it will be locked. If I didn't pay $180 a year for a family membership with the Canoe and Kayak Club, or $800 a year for rowing, or sign up for some specific program that day, the rest of the building is off limits to us. We can bike to Loudon Park, but if we have to go somewhere else, we have to take a car. The same is probably true for thousands of others who live in the area. Although this little park and the 29 trees on the line might not seem like much in the scheme of things, the country club area has just been designated as an urban center in the city plan, meaning we're aiming to increase density and walkability, including to nearby public green spaces. To quote the city plan, urban tree canopies, natural areas, and greenways are a fundamental part of the city's infrastructure and provide many benefits. They provide wildlife habitat, ecological services, reduction of urban heat island effects and climate resiliency, human health and safety, and community livability. In a 2021 survey, 91% of participants identified access to nature, parks, and open spaces as one of the top things they love about Nanaimo. I do support the use of our tax dollars to upgrade the amenities that the paddling clubs need, because I believe they offer some excellent programs. What I don't support is this footprint that meets the needs of their clubs at the expense of our already extremely limited public waterfront green space. The design that was approved puts everything under one roof in a sprawling single-story building that takes over the park. What if we instead built the needed facilities in the same place where the current facilities stand? Or built a two-story building that could achieve the same square footage in half the park space? If we chose to go forward with the option B design that puts the boat storage at the back of the park and a new washroom building where the old one is, we'd save over $4 million. Why not use that money to improve the aesthetics of the option B design if we don't like the look of a steel building? Or to build an indoor community space on another property if that's a key priority? We are not opposed to upgrading facilities at Loudon Park. We are asking for a reconsideration of the specific building design in consideration of the enormous loss this particular design would impose on our community. Loudon Park is a public space. It may be small, but it's got a beach and a lake and a grove of mature trees for shade and wildlife. Trees do not have locked doors, and they're for everyone all the time. I'd like to end by acknowledging the many people who came out to the council meeting tonight to show their support, the people who volunteered to canvass their neighbors, those who wrote into council, and those who signed the paper and online petitions. 779 signatures. Your desire for a more balanced alternative to meet everyone's needs is clear. Thank you.
Heather Bates speaking at Monday's Nanaimo City Council meeting, expressing concerns about a proposed building at Loudon Park by Long Lake. We'll hear more from Bates later on in the program. Towards the end of that meeting, Councillor Tyler Brown made a motion to reconsider the plan for Loudon Park.
Per our procedure bylaw, I'd like to request the reconsideration of the Loudon Park decision.
It's been seconded by Councillor Gesselbrock. It is not a debatable motion. All those in favour? Councillors Eastmere, Gesselbrock, Hemmons, Brown, and Manley. Those opposed? Mayor Krogh, Councillors Thorpe, Perino. Councillor Armstrong, where are you in this?
I was in favor of reconsideration.
In favor of reconsideration. Thank you. Motion carries.
Following Council's 6-3 vote to reconsider the decision, Brown spoke about his rationale. Here are some of his comments, which have been condensed for time purposes.
I still am quite in favor of this proposal. I think there was a lot of runaway prior to the decision for the budget increase around the project. And I think it's very unfortunate. Obviously, there's a very passionate community, and I appreciate people being passionate for their community. I think it's very unfortunate that it's this late in stage of the project. And I also think it's very unfortunate. I think there's been a lot of great comments, but there's also been a lot of unfair and vicious comments towards council members that voted in favor of the proposal. And I think at the end of the day, everyone that sits at this table is trying to make the best decisions for the community as a whole. If this option is to fail, I hope that council would take serious the need to proceed quickly with the boat storage facility, and also direct staff to immediately start work on preparing a concept plan for a washroom, multipurpose room, and fitness buildings in the general area of the existing washroom building, providing flexibility for them to explore that further. And I also would say that doesn't exclude any emergent opportunities for alternative designs, but at the same time, not having a strong intention to get something done will just result in further loss of amenity space and not providing for the user group. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you, Worship. I very reluctantly bring this forward, and I only do so with a very seriousness and hope that Council will proceed with A option no matter what. Thank you.
Councillor Janice Perino was still in favor of the original plan.
I do want to make a couple of points. 6 of the 9 council members at this table reviewed this topic in 2021, knowing that 29 trees would be cut down, and they approved this. In 2022, the current council, again, this came forward, knowing that 29 trees would be removed to get this project up and going, and again, there was a full unanimous support. You can turn around and say, gee whiz, the community wasn't involved, but the fact was the council was involved and was aware. So there was definitely a lack of initiative at that time. So I was very surprised to
the motion.
Knowing, excuse me, if we know how important this project is to Loudon Park, to the boating groups, to the community, and yet we knew at that time that 29 trees were going to be cut down and voted in favor of it, then shame on us, because the community apparently didn't know, although there was a survey done and many people were informed. My biggest concern was getting this project up and going. People may not be aware, but this project has been on the books for 30 years. This park is important not just to the boating community, but to the entire community. We know for a fact that staff has made it clear that the 29 trees would be cut down, but 60 would be replanted with an additional 100 trees planted as part of our tree program throughout the community. That's why I voted in favor of this project and why I continue to support it. My concern is that by stalling this again, we are going to do only one thing, and that is raise the cost some more, because the construction cost keeps going up and people keep waiting for this project to be completed. Yes, we can all be angry, but my goodness, the information was out there, and I'm not blaming the community. I'm blaming the council of the day. Shame on us for not getting it right. I'm not going to vote in favor of this, but I will continue to support the direction of this council once a vote is made, and if we go forward and go with the new plan, I'm fine with that. I will vote as this council majority votes, and I will not be complaining about the vote at the end of the day. Thank you.
Councillor Cheryl Armstrong joined Brown as the two councillors to change their vote on this issue. Here are her comments.
I voted in favor of this every time. I think it's a very needed project. But one thing that was never put to us in the past was the fact that we could build this separately on where the washrooms are now. And one of the reasons was because there was some concerns about being close to the water. I think was a valid concern, but now based on what we're hearing from the community, I think that there's an option to look at this that could serve both the needs. I'm concerned about the lack of amenity space, and in my replies to those that emailed me, I talked about the fact that we did lose Departure Bay Activity Center, and that's very much needed. I think that what Councillor Brown is proposing to me is a valid compromise, and for those reasons, I will be voting against this time, because I think that what he's proposing makes more sense, which leads it for a win-win for the whole community. Thank you.
Nanaimo Mayor Leonard Krog's stance was unchanged.
I'm not changing my mind. This has been before council for a very long time, previous councils, the current council. Staff worked very hard. Loudon Park, some of which is formed by way of road right-of-way. It wasn't all given by Mr. Loudon, so let's correct a little bit of history here. Loudon Park is not like Bowen Park. It is not a park to wander around for an hour or two. It's not like Neck Point. It's not like Piper's Lagoon. It's not like wandering out to Joan Point Park. It is a destination park for basically swimmers and people who use the lake. I've received numerous emails from folks indicating, it's precious green space. It is a monoculture. Let's be blunt about that. It is 29 fir trees surrounded by very little else in terms of vegetation. The proposal before council with this budget is not just about building a boathouse. It is about building decent public washrooms and a public facility that would be suitable for rental and use by the community. We've heard people suggest we rebuild Departure Bay Activity Center. Sorry, folks, we know that's off the table. We've already had a report on that. People have talked about expanding the Kin Hut. Sorry, that's on Ministry of Transportation lands, and I suspect will inevitably end up being the property of Nanaimo First Nation. So that's not going to work.
Councillor Paul Manley said the issue has caused anger and division in the council chamber and in the community.
This is an area that is going to be an urban center. It's designated high density based on a transit exchange. So as a council, we don't even have a choice in that matter. That's a provincial decision. And people are going to want green space. And we have lots of great green space around the community, but not in this particular area. And it's a great place to go for a swim. And I do think we need amenity space there. And I think that what Councillor Brown has talked about is having the bathrooms and the amenity space, and together in one place on the opposite side of the park. And I think it'll serve the needs of everybody. And I'm sorry for the anger and division that this has caused in this council chamber and in the community, and some of the things that have been written in emails. So I'm hoping that we can come up with a process that works for the community at large, that works with the different groups that access this park. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Thank you.
Councillor Ian Thorpe says he was dismayed with some of the opposition to the plan.
This issue has caused anger and division among councillors, and that's really unfortunate. I am disappointed in the organized campaign against this option, that there is has been a fair amount of wrong information, and that is very frustrating. And I am more than disappointed. I am dismayed in terms of governance, and as far as some of the opposition to this. So I'll leave it at that, because I don't feel I wish to say, well, I would like to say more, but I won't. Thank you.
Ultimately, further decision-making on the issue was deferred to the next council meeting, scheduled for May 26th.
Midcoast Morning is made possible by the Community Radio Fund of Canada and generous listeners like you. With your support, we can expand Midcoast Morning from 2 to 3 original programs per week to cover local news, current affairs, and arts and culture.
Today on the program, we're covering Nanaimo City Council's decision to reconsider plans for a building at Loudon Park by Long Lake. At a meeting Monday, Council voted 6-3 to reconsider a plan to build a boathouse with rentable community space. The decision to reconsider was prompted by a motion from Councillor Tyler Brown. The gallery at the Vancouver Island Conference Centre was near capacity at times during the meeting, with a number of people bringing signs expressing opposition to the boathouse project as it had been planned. One of those in attendance at the meeting was Andrea Coutu.
We don't know what's going to come out of the future process, but to me, the fact that 2 members of council were able to shift where they stood on things, that they're willing to look at more options, shows to me that they're willing to listen to the community and hear more from the community.
A trio of delegations presented to council on this issue during the meeting. Earlier on, we heard part of one of them from Heather Bates. I spoke with her the day after the meeting to get her thoughts on council's reconsideration.
My name is Heather Bates, and I am on the board of the Nanaimo Climate Action Hub, and I'm also on the board of the Rock City Neighborhood Association. Both organizations were interested in this campaign.
And can you give me your reaction to what happened towards the end of last night's council meeting?
Sure. Well, relief, I think. I would say we all felt to see that the council was willing to take a second look at this based on the considerable input they received from the community over the last few weeks. Also feeling really appreciative to Councillor Brown for bringing the matter forward so that it could be discussed further and reconsidered. And also just grateful for all the people who spent their free time working on this and ensuring that, all of the voices could be at the table. And, people spent their weekends going door to door with petitions. People sent in emails. People took their Monday evening to go and show their support at the council meetings. It was really nice to see so many people who care and wanted to make sure that we find a solution that's going to really work for all the users of the park.
We don't know quite where this will end up. What is your hope for how the next steps of this play out?
My hope is that things move forward quickly, because I know that the boating community has been waiting a very long time already for the upgrades that are needed. And, certainly it seemed clear that all members of the council, were very much wanting to avoid any further unnecessary delays. So I hope things move forward quickly, and hoping also that at this next stage, as any further discussion is happening around particulars of the design, that there will be more voices at the table with the city, including the council or however that process unfolds with the city staff, that the neighborhood associations might have a voice at the table, interested community members, as well as the boating community representatives.
What are the primary things you hope don't happen in the resolution to this? Is it for you primarily about the trees? Is it primarily about the budget? Are there other factors you're concerned about?
Well, so I suppose it depends a little bit who you talk to in terms of exactly how people might prioritize the different factors here. If I put my Climate Action Hub hat on, we're really looking at this from a perspective of climate justice and making sure that in a context of increasing heat waves that everyone has access to nearby public green spaces, and especially one with a waterfront where people can swim to cool off. That's key, as well as, of course, the ecosystem protection. Having a mature grove of Douglas firs right in an urban center is a really important piece for our biodiversity and for local insect populations and all the wildlife that's supported there, as well as, of course, the direct carbon sequestration benefits from keeping those mature trees alive. And from the the neighborhood perspective, I think it is all of those things, and there's perhaps more emphasis on the recreational aspect of just having the park space be available for all types of park users, including having the upgrades for the rowers and the paddlers. All along, I think everyone who's been involved in this campaign that I've come across has felt very strongly that this is not meant to be an us versus them, or that we're trying to stop amenities being built for the clubs that serve our youth so well. Really want to show the support for that community, and it's really just a matter of being smart about how we create the design and balancing, where we can put the various facilities to maximize the portion of the park that might remain available, just given that it's such a tiny little park, that we want it to still feel like a park and not like you're just pulling into the parking lot of a building.
A number of the councillors, including Councillor Brown, referenced that they felt this process had become somewhat divisive. Is that something that you experienced at all, or would you have any thoughts on that idea that this process, this issue has become something divisive in the community?
Well, I was certainly quite sad to, hear from several of the councillors that they were receiving some very disrespectful communications from members of the community. Personal attacks were referenced. I think there was a mention of vicious comments, and that was really sad for me to hear, because I know that every member of that council genuinely wants the best for our city, and they are working hard to make the decisions that they see as being best to achieve that. And so that, we did work hard throughout this campaign to really be sure to take a positive tone, and emphasize that what we're looking for here is something that will work for everyone. I think it's really unfortunate when it goes that way, and people are making it into a personal thing against these council members who are, devoting their time to serve for our community. So like in that sense, that was really disappointing. And I'm not entirely sure, what the reactions may have been throughout this campaign, for the rowing club and the paddling club. And we did have a couple of people reaching out to express some concern about this. But again, it was quite respectful conversation, and so I can't necessarily say that I encountered a lot of divisiveness in the community myself, but I don't want to assume that I would know, if some of that is out there, that it may not just have been visible to me.
Could you tell me a little more about your experience as a delegation going and speaking in front of council and watching the reaction to that and how the rest of the meeting played out?
I think it was a good experience. That's the first time that I've been a delegation at a city council meeting. And I guess I have to say, sometimes with so many things going on in the world, it can feel challenging to see, what role can we play as an individual person when, it doesn't often feel like we really have much power. So I think it was an empowering experience to show up and to have my 5 minutes and to get to say what was really important to me and share my perspective and my voice. And, it was nice to have that, to have a forum for that. And, yeah. And as I said, I wasn't able to stay in person for the end of the meeting, but I did watch the conversation via the live stream when it was discussed again at the end of the meeting. And it, it's refreshing, I think, to remember that, we do still live in a democracy here in Nanaimo, and that there is openness, that when respectful feedback is offered, we do have a forum for that, and it can be taken into consideration.
Did you have any inkling that this could happen before the meeting when you were getting ready to do your delegation, that they could reconsider?
We certainly hoped for that. That was really what we've been aiming for all along, is to have this matter reopened and just to take a second look and see, is there a better way here where we can have all of the needs met and keep a substantial portion of that green space in the park for your casual park user. So we definitely hoped for this outcome, but it certainly did not feel like a sure thing. So, it's great to see that the process did generate a result in that sense, that it is being reconsidered. Although, as you said, we don't know entirely where this is going to end up and what might be decided on. But this feels like a really positive step.
Is there anything else you think it's important to bring to the conversation on this right now?
Yeah, I think I just want to really emphasize again that it's clear that not only everybody on council, but also everybody in this campaign to save Loudon Park really shares a sense of strong support for the boating community. And so I hope that moving forward, as we get into whatever is next in this process of looking at different options, I hope that we can move forward in a way that feels collaborative, that feels mutually respectful, where, we can all have a seat at the table and find something that really works for everyone.
Heather Bates, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Heather Bates speaking about Nanaimo City Council's decision to reconsider how it plans to build upgraded facilities at Loudon Park by Long Lake. Bates spoke to council at a meeting Monday. The issue is set to be on the council agenda again Monday, May 26th. That's our show for the day. Thank you for joining me. I'm Joe Pugh, host and producer of Midcoast Morning. Jesse Woodward is our executive producer, and RB Frew is our technical advisor. You can sign up for CHLY's newsletter at chly.ca/subscribe. Our theme song is First One by local Nanaimo band Waste Management. If you have a story you'd like us to cover, email us at news@chly.ca. That's all for now. I'll talk to you on another Midcoast Morning.
This program acknowledges and gives thanks to the Nanaimo First Nation as we broadcast and podcast from their traditional territory. Thanks for listening.